Peace, peace, and welcome back to another astrological analysis. Before I get started, I want to ask you to please go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment if you enjoy the content, because that really helps the channel. All right. So today, just a brief lesson. I'm going to give you, let's say, three, maybe six, maybe nine things um, about empty houses. Okay. I want to give you a few things about empty houses. One of the number one questions that I get is when people are, asking about their natal chart is what does having an empty house mean? Okay. So I'm just going to give you just a few brief examples, nothing too deep. Okay. So I have here Michael Jackson's chart. Okay. And in Michael Jackson's chart, his 11th house is empty and his fourth house is empty. So, getting right into it, his fourth house, when you have an empty house, it means that in that area of life, you don't have a planetary energy that's pulling you there. You don't have Saturn that's disciplining you there. You don't have Jupiter that's blessing you there and expanding your knowledge and awareness of life in that area through lived experience there. You don't have your Uranus, which, changing things up, especially in your friend group there. Um, you don't have Pluto really helping you to unpack it psychologically, so when you have a empty house, then you, it's not a bad thing per se, but you lack full awareness of life in that area. And, I've s- with the amount of charts that I've looked at, empty houses are common. Okay, just as common sense. So, the fourth house is ruled by Gemini here. Okay, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So when you have an empty house, you want to look to the ruler. You want to look to the ruler. So, taking that example, we want to look for Mercury, and Mercury is here in the sixth house. So your fourth house talks about your family, your upbringing, your security, your need for comfort, a lot of things. So when the Lord of his fourth is in his sixth, that means that his childhood was spent working. He had to have a routine. And it's in a Mars deacon and is at the 25th degree. So he was the head of what he was doing at work. He had to be the star of the show. Hello, Leo. All lights on him. And he had to be strict about it. He had to have a routine about it. He had to be on his P's and Q's, so much so that it became part of his secondhand nature, his pattern recognition. And that's where Palace is here with the direct conjunction to Mercury. So it's like an obsession almost, like being at work, having that routine. Like you can't live without that to-do list. So you can learn all of that about his childhood from looking at the Lord. If you look at his 11th, it tells you the same thing. It's your 11th is like your groups of friends, it's your hopes, your dreams, benefactors, big business, a lot of things. I'm sorry, let me drink some water. But if you were to look at the Lord of his 11th, then you can see that it's in its 10th. All right. So he didn't really have a lot of time for friends. So he lacks that in his life, like big groups of friends. He lacks that, even though you see him with the Jackson Five, he lacked that true um secure upbringing. I mean, it was spent with his siblings, Gemini. So he was always with his siblings, working with his siblings, but he was the head of it, of what they were doing at work. And um, the Lord of his 11th, if you look at Saturn, Saturn here is in a Mars deacon. Again, he had to be in that spotlight. And his discipline is in a direct conjunction with his midheaven. So he was known for his discipline. He was known for his father, like signing the contracts, like constructing his friendships because Saturn, the 10th house, represents the father energy, how you were brought up by the father. Okay. Um, and the reason why he didn't have a lot of friends was because of that, because he was always in the spotlight. He was always traveling. He was big overseas, huge foreign influence. He was known for Saturn. He was known for his foreign influence, his fame, his fortune. So his groups of friends, the people that he considered his tribe was, his his fans, really, 19th degree. That's a Libra degree. That's being married to your contracts. That's your legacy being your contracts. Your legacy is your legacy. It speaks for itself. You have Saturn in the house of rules. So you can see all of that from empty houses. Let me give you some more examples. Mr. Yeezy, Mr. West. So getting right into it, Kanye has his third house empty. He has his seventh house empty, and he has his eighth house empty. That's a mutable house, that's a cardinal house, that's a fixed house. So when it comes to his conversation, he doesn't, it can be over analytical of what other people are saying to him. He lacks that awareness, but the energy that he does have, something I should add is that the energy of the empty house is the sign that's there, not only just looking at the Lord, but the sign that's there. So you have the traits of Virgo in your third house, how you communicate, you know? So the way that he talks to his direct community, the people around him that he sees every day, it can be a bit, like, what's your intention? Like he's all about if you're around him, you have to be on his schedule, on his routine. And the Lord of the third rules not only the sign, you know, and the house natally. Um, like that's his original ruler is Virgo. Not Virgo, is Mercury. So his the Lord of the third is in his 11th at the 26th degree. So when it comes to his friend groups, his community, it can be a bit I won't say superficial, but it's about, you know, um you have to again align with what his values are. And he's adamant about that. You can see he has Mars here at the same in the same house at the first degree in a Venus deacon. Strong about his morals, strong about his, you know, um, if you're around him, you have to know how to get material wealth and contribute to that in a way, like contribute to know how to get paid, you know. Venus here, second degree, that's a Venus degree. So close of a conjunction with his Mars. So even when he gets mad, he'll floss on you, you know, with Taurus there. And he gets mad, he'll talk about like how much money he has, you know. And it's coming from a hurt space because Chiron here is at the fourth degree, all taking place in the Venus deacon. So that flossing, that anger, you know, the need for people around him to have money is from the money he didn't have growing up. Chiron at the fourth degree. And here with Mercury in the same house in a Saturn deacon, it's really somebody being like disciplined, you know, or somebody going through like trials and tribulations of having to be disciplined through what they're saying, like in a vocal way, through their everyday communication. And what they say is put under a microscope. It goes both ways, like everything that they say, because that's part of them learning how to um, be disciplined with their speech because you have Mercury here in a Saturn deacon at the 26th degree. So it's learning how to, be, if you want to learn how to make friends, for one, you have to learn how to speak with people who don't, go along with your values, be cordial with them. So that's what he's lacking. And here in his seventh house, he lacks, and it paints more of this picture. He lacks the ability to really know how to make friends, how to truly know how to establish relationships and be good at partnerships, marriages. And this always takes place in a public, in a public light, really, because it's Capricorn here. Capricorn is how the public sees you, and the public has a direct view into his marriages, his friendships, even his contracts, and that's ruled by the seventh house. And again, he can be serious in his friendships because Capricorn is stern, Capricorn is serious, right? So I'm sorry, let me get some water. If you look at the Lord of his seventh is in the second, and a Jupiter deacon in Leo. So one thing that he is learning how to do is, how to make friends, but it's going to come at a cost of shedding the need to be the center, the ego. You have to be disciplined. And it really confuses him of how to go about doing this because the Saturn is at the 12th degree. It's at a Neptune degree. So he's going to have to tap into his subconscious mind, do some meditation, like truly, truly like shed that the outer layer and go into the inner layer, like his dreams, like what, the things that he can't see, the realm of the hidden karmic duties, if he wants to be successful in his relationships and his marriage. I would suggest doing ayahuasca, you know. Yeah, because Saturn here is trining Neptune. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing ayahuasca. That would even open up his wallet tenfold, but it would come at a cost. Anyway, let me not do a whole chart reading. So and again, eighth house empty, is his lack of awareness on sex education. His sex education came from the internet. That's Aquarius, you know. Sex education came from the internet. The ruler of his, eighth, the traditional ruler is here in the second, again, not knowing how to be disciplined. So taking it like in that space, in the sexual space, like his morals and his values, the second house with the traditional ruler came from the internet, porn. And the co-ruler, Uranus, is here in this fifth house at the eighth degree. That's a Scorpio degree and a Pluto decan in Scorpio. So it's really not knowing, you know, like mentally, like Aquarius is mental. So mentally, how he feels about, sex is through the internet. Like it's unknown to him. It's like it's a lot of people don't even know about that. Like it's like a casual thing for him, like the way that he thinks about flirting, the way that he thinks about how he's supposed to, pick up women, have fun, like that mentality is from the internet, you know. Not only the internet, but like VCRs, like TV, you know. So let me see something here. Yeah. And just to clarify what I was saying earlier, his Juno squares his Saturn. So like just until he really knows, if he has to do some, like this is all taking place in the house of your childhood. Like this is a deep rooted sexual thing that you can all see just from an empty house. Imagine if this house had planets, but just from an empty house, you can see just from his childhood, like like Scorpio psychological. So anyway, let me not go too deep in this, but just to finish this thought off, it's psychological. His childhood was developed, even how to get other, establish relationships with other people, how to share with other people, how to, gain money from other people, like all of that. It came from, he didn't have a father figure around or even a mom around really to teach him about this. So he had to learn in some type of way. Right. Yeah. So that directly affects his relationships. With Juno being here in the same house and Juno squaring Saturn, which is the traditional ruler of the eighth. But anyway, let me not get too deep. So I just wanted to give you all just a few things that you can see with empty houses, I mean, you can see so much more with, houses that are full. Like you can see the most with houses that are full. Like I'm not gonna touch his North Node being at the 22nd degree right now, but and its ascendant being at the 18th degree. But anywho, all right. Y'all know what to do. Once again, if you like this video, please be sure to help the algorithm help me in this channel by subscribing, by sharing this content with anybody that you feel, they might find it cool. And subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment if you found this video to be interesting. And so I can have the time to make more of this content. All right. Hope that you learned something. Don't forget, subscribe to Patreon so that you can come to the classes, so that you can come to the weekly meditations that we have twice a week, sometimes three times. All right, y'all. Much love. Keep your head on a swivel. I will see you soon. Peace.